so happy to have you here at Build.
Thank you very much.
This is a very historic building for you, right, Kelly?
It is. This used to be V2 Records upstairs. This was Tower Records, and our record company was upstairs. So last night we saw all of our old friends from V2 from 20 years ago, and now we're here. So I feel like I'm in some sort of weird time machine right now. So it's nice to be back.
It all comes full circle, right?
It does. It does. Then you just got to keep moving.
Keep moving. Keep moving this time with your 10th album. Congratulations. It's coming out this fall. Very anthemic, very big sounds on this record. Why'd you set out to do that this time around?
I think we're living in a time where there's a constant intrusion in people's lives. There's a lot of noise going on. You know, there's a lot of, the minute you wake up in the morning, you look at the news, it's generally bad and depressing. So I just, you know, I was in a position where I was starting to think of things to avoid going to places and doing things, you know, where, you know, changing your life because of all the things that's happening in the world, whether it was in the Bataclan in Paris or Manchester or wherever. So I don't know, the songwriting didn't come out in that way. It came out in a way which was talking about celebrating the good things in life and the simple things in life. So I guess that's what the reaction to a lot of the troubles that we were experiencing on our journeys came out in a positive way rather than kind of burying it, you know?
Yeah, sort of an escape on some level, right?
Yeah, giving people some sort of relief and release from, all that noise.
Lots of noise. Were there particular things that really, or a moment that said, okay, this situation happened in the real world and I'm channeling this in this specific song?
Well, a lot of the album was written before a lot of those particular events that happened, but we've played in a lot of those venues where those situations happened. I think, you know, we always just keep writing. We've never really written an album as such in the last 3 albums. We just go into the studio, make songs, and then kind of select which ones work well together as a collection for an album. So not one particular incident, no. It's a feeling that I guess people have generally these days. And I just didn't want to put that onto the next generation in my family and avoid things. I'd rather try to, you know, you got to live your life and go for stuff, you know.
Sure. Okay, you said, you know, you're coming up with the songs, and obviously you're bringing it to these guys. What's that situation like for you? Like, what's the recording situation like? Terrible.
Well, we've been fortunate over the last 5 years. We rented a studio in West London, so there was a point where we was just going there basically every day, and new music was forming, you know, like Kelly was writing lyrics in one room, and we were recording, you know, the stuff that he wrote lyrics for the previous day in the next room. So it's always really exciting when you got a new idea coming and then it's put in front of you and you get to put your part on it. So yeah, that's a good challenge to, you know, like put your little stamp on that piece of music.
Sure. All in One Night is one of the first singles released from the album. Can any of you speak to, you know, either the recording of that or, you know, maybe what the lyrics were about?
All in One Night came about. We were kind of trapped in Shanghai one night waiting for a flight, and we couldn't go outside because it was too hot. So we were literally trapped in this hotel, and I had these chords and I had an idea about something happening over the course of an evening and telling the time on each verse. So it was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I had about 4 or 5 different versions of what happened over that night, and then the one that settled was the one that's on the record. I didn't know if it was just a ridiculous song and people would just get fed up of hearing what the time was. But then when I played it to the band the day before the record company were going to come to listen to the record, they all liked it, and then I played it to the record company, and then they all wanted it to be the first single, so then I was very confused because I didn't know if it was really rubbish or really good. So it turned out to be one of those songs that was written and recorded very, very fast, and there's not really much of the band on there. There's like a keyboard and one little guitar line. I don't think there's any bass. There's not a real drum kit on this. So, in fact, it's not really us. It's just a bunch of machines.
Synthetic.
It's just synthetic us with me singing on top of it. So it's very easy.
But sort of a different sound for you. What's it like, and how would you say, you know, you're able to stay current and kind of keep the sound going, keep the old fans interested and attract new fans?
Being open to do things like that.
Yeah.
Not have the drummer on the track, you know. That's how you change stuff up, you know. Being open to that is how you get new things.
Sure.
It's as simple as that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's people who's followed the band for 20 years, and there's people in the front row have just discovered the band, you know, on streaming sites or wherever, and you know, they think C'est la Vie is our first song, and in 2005 they thought Dakota was our first song, and then they realize, oh, there's another 10 albums. So the point is really is to keep making music that's challenging us, surprising us. You have to step outside of your comfort zone, really.
I think we're our own worst critics as well. So if we like stumble on something that we've done before, we always just push it to the side straight away.
Yeah.
Try and keep moving forward.
Speaking of critics, I know you said you're your own worst critics, but do you pay attention to what critics have to say? Do you care?
I don't think we really put that into the pot when we're making music. I think good praise, bad praise, it's kind of pointless in many ways, because it's about the process of making music and the process of going to work every day to do something that makes us feel good about what we do. You know, I've been in a band since I was 12, so that's, you know, more than 2/3 of my life. So it's like something that I can't not do. So I didn't care what people thought about it before. I don't really care what people think about it after, but you make the thing and you enjoy that experience, and then when it comes to actually giving it to other people, you have a concern about what your fans would think about it, but not really from a point of view of, you know, if somebody says in a magazine they don't like you, then the world's going to end the next day. It doesn't really affect me in that way.
Well, you've had so much success over the years, huge in the UK and all over the world, really. I mean, what's that fame been like? I mean, your first album did really well. What was it like to be kind of like trying at it, different bands, and then all of a sudden you release your debut album, and it's like, oh my gosh, the world is listening.
It was peculiar.
Yeah.
It was peculiar.
It got very busy.
It got very busy, yeah. 20 years just went by.
Yeah.
You know, being to be able to make music every day is a great thing, and you know, when you're a kid, you're trying to find that sound that sounds like yourself. You know, you go through different phases. One week you sound like Pearl Jam, the next week you sound like the Black Crowes, then you sound like Lenny Kravitz. Then one day you do a song and you go, actually that sounds like us. You know, and that's like 1994, and then we signed in '96, and from that point on, we only ever wanted to make records that stood the test of time. It wasn't really about cash. It wasn't really about a big house. It was much more about, you have a feeling inside you, you've got something to offer and give people, and you just keep digging for that. And that feeling hasn't really gone away. If anything, it's probably intensified, because you just keep wanting to do more and find different ways of doing that, you know. So that's kind of how it feels. You kind of get more hungry the older you get. Except you can't eat as much because you get fat.
Yeah, what's being on the road now versus, you know, 20 years ago when you first got your start? Is it a different vibe?
It's very different.
Yes.
It's very
Going to
different.
bed right after the gigs?
Yeah,
Very
a lot more
different.
sober, aren't we? We know that.
How is it very...
Well, we had to change because Jamie wouldn't be allowed in the country.
That is true. That is true.
I don't know. I think there's a different balance involved in. There's more to do. You know, on your first album, you're only going to play for 45 minutes because the album only lasted for 42. And then you got 10 albums, and then you're doing sets which are like 2 hours and 3/4, whatever. So, you know, that there's an hour and a half of drinking time now that is now on stage, which is very unfortunate because in the old days, by about half 11, we would have been drunk. But now we just got to play a massive catch-up game to keep up with the people after the show. So, but then unfortunately, you got to go on television at 5 o'clock the next morning. So it's a lovely problem to have.
Can't
just
complain.
you just got to balance those days where you can have those events.
You've played all over the world. You've played big festivals. Do any of you have a favorite place to play, or a festival that you're like, oh, we got to go back there?
Where's your favorite place to play, Adam?
Scotland's always good.
Okay.
Always like going to Scotland and playing.
Yeah. Scotland.
I don't know why.
2 nights
but
in the
it's good.
castle last year.
That
2
was
nights
good.
in Edinburgh Castle.
Oh, that's
Just
cool.
crazy. That was a special moment.
Yeah.
They're all pretty special, though, aren't they? We're very lucky,
Yeah.
blessed.
We've been really lucky as well. We've been traveling to new countries, so we've like playing in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, Indonesia, Mexico.
I didn't
South
think Kuala
America.
Lumpur actually existed. I thought when I was a kid, somebody told me it was this place, and I thought it was some James Bond thing, but it's actually real. So yeah,
It's definitely real.
I've been there.
We were there.
Yeah.
very lucky to be playing so many awesome places. I liked how you said earlier that so many people know you from different songs and they brought you into it. My first introduction to you was 2003 with Maybe Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Someone put it on a mixed CD or tape for me and I said, who is this band? And, you know, I love them. And I was like,
Yeah.
you know, it struck me right away. Is there one particular album or song that you think is an entryway more than others to some fans, to your music?
I think if you followed the band from the beginning, you would see that there's subtle changes on every record and different sounds, and then there's the other people who follow the band that just hear the kind of the big songs off the radio, you know. But I think people come in at different stages. You know, Maybe Tomorrow ended up on the soundtrack for that movie Crash, which obviously won an Oscar, and then that became like a big song for people. We'd forgotten we'd even agreed to put that song on that film, and then we were watching it, we were like, that's our song, and we'd forgotten we'd agreed to do that, and then won an Oscar. And there's like, you know, you just try to find these different sounds. Dakota was a big song that people jumped on internationally. And it just kind of keeps coming, really. You make the songs, and a lot of young people like Sailor V because it had a very punk rock kind of energy and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you notice it after you release a new album. When you go and do the concerts, you can see the difference, you know, like in the age of the crowd as well. Like Kelly was saying, after Dakota and that album, the crowd got a lot younger. And then when we released Graffiti on the Train, you know, like it changed again. So yeah, there's been moments. I think every couple of albums it seems to change. You know, like it brings different people into the audience, and
Including Bob Dylan, apparently, who's a fan, right? He did an interview, I think it was earlier this year, and he cited Stereophonics as one of the bands that he listens to. What was that? You're shaking your head because you're like,
Crazy.
That is crazy. What was
Cray.
that like when you read Cray? Exactly.
Cray. That shit cray.
Totally Cray. What was it like when you heard that? You're like, oh my gosh, Bob Dylan listens to.
Didn't believe it, did you, Kel?
I still don't believe it. No, it was a bit surreal. I mean, we've been really lucky to tour with some of our favorite bands over the years. We did Bowie's last tour in America, and we've done the U2 Elevation tour over here, and Chili Peppers. And so we've been really lucky to stand on the side of the stage and watch a lot of our favorite bands. So you never think somebody like Bob Dylan would comment on your music, even though that's what I was brought up on. It was Bob Dylan and Neil Young and people like that, because they're two older brothers. So I would listen to a lot of Bob Dylan records when I was a kid. So if it is true, he gave us a name check. I don't know which part of the band that he listens to, or which era of the band he listens to, but I'll just take it.
He'll take it. Would you ever want to collaborate with him?
There was a lot of texting going on that day.
There was a lot of red wine going on that
There was
day.
a lot of texting backwards and forwards in the band that day.
Yeah, people were excited, right?
Very excited.
So, okay, so maybe a collaboration one day if you were up for it. No?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well,
Definitely.
he knows where we are.
If you're watching Bob Dylan, okay.
He has got a Welsh connection on it. He took his name from Dylan Thomas.
So there you go.
So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just a Welsh connection.
So Bob Dylan was one of your influences.
Yeah.
Who else did you listen to growing up?
Well, having two older brothers, they were always playing music in the other bedrooms. You know, there was a lot of classic rock stuff, like, you know, ZZ Top and Lynyrd Skynyrd and all that kind of stuff, which was Eagles, Creedence Clearwater Revival. I loved AC/DC as a kid. So a lot of rock music, but then I loved people like Tom Waits and Ray Davies from the Kinks on the storytelling side of things. And so there was a lot of kind of hard rock with a country infusion, but then very lyrical stuff as well, which is kind of what we sound like, I guess, in some ways.
Well, go down the line. Let's see. Who did you listen to growing up?
I don't know. I had like older brothers and sisters like Kelly, so there's a lot of punk rock, and I just found heavy metal when I was a teenager. So it was like Metallica, and then I got into the Beastie Boys and just really diverse stuff. So yeah, a bit of everything for me.
I used to listen to Luther Vandross before I started playing the guitar.
Nice.
Which was, you know what, that was pretty good. And then I played the guitar and I kind of found Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and things like that. So I was always listen to different stuff. So
I actually listening to the Stereophonics.
Yeah.
yeah, Jamie's younger than us, so he was.
For real.
Yeah.
You know,
We auditioned Jamie, and then he told us after he had the job he was actually in a Stereophonics tribute band when he was younger.
That's
So
true as
why,
well.
That's why he knew.
So
all
how
the
crazy
songs.
is this now? What?
You're pinching yourself every day.
Literally.
I was texting him, "Can you learn this song?" And he goes, "Already done it." Going,
Like-
and I didn't know if he was arrogant or
First
really
album's
cool.
in the blood. The first album's in my blood, you know.
Oh, that's a real treat, right? So, and you want a fan. I mean, you got to be a fan. You have to like your own music if you're playing it every night, right?
Yeah.
So,
It helps.
Integral.
help.
It helps.
Integral.
yeah, it's got to be part of it. Okay, so you're releasing the album in October, and then I believe next year it's going to be a big tour for you guys, right? What are you expecting?
I think we're going to try and come back to the States at the end of this year. The album's out October, November. And then we're going to start doing European and arena shows in the UK, like January, February, and then just get around the rest of the world, really. You know, there's a lot of people from last night from the record companies all over the world. They all happened to be in town on the same night. So there was Mexico, Australia. We told everybody we were coming. So we've made a lot of promises last night. So we've got to go everywhere.
We're going to get booked up.
We got it, yeah.
2017 is definitely going to be busy for you all.
World domination is back on.
How do you feel like you evolved, or as a musician, you know, since you got your start? Do you feel like you're getting better? Do you feel like it's getting easier, harder?
It's kind of both, really. I think I do more work now as a musician than I ever did. Like I literally go to work every day. I'll sing every day and play every day. On the first two albums, the first time I would sing was when I walked on stage. And I find that great because I find as a band, I think we're tighter than we've ever been. I think singing and playing wise, I think we're better. And there's a lot to be said about preparation, you know, because then when you go on stage, you're completely free in the sense of you just got to trust your instincts because you know you've done all the work. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the past, you were kind of on a knife's edge, which is kind of cool as well, because then it's you don't know when it's going to fall apart. It could be a train wreck or it could be very exciting. So, but it depends what kind of material you're doing. So it changes as the years go by, you know.
Sure. Is there a song on the album that really stands out to you all? One of you? Maybe we'll go down the line. Let's start with you.
Don't pick my song, Jimmy.
Better be one of mine, Jamie.
No, you better be careful.
There's a track called Elevator. Yeah. I had to check that. But that chorus gets me every time. And I remember Kelly playing me that song in Australia. And we were having a great night in his room. We were smoking, drinking. It was brilliant. He played me that track. I was like, what the hell is that? That was 2 albums ago. So I was like, that should be on this next album. That was 2 albums ago. So, you know, I've had that in my mind and my heart since then. And I particularly love that song.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Finally made it.
It made the cut, right?
I think so. I think it's on there.
That's why I had to look at you there.
No, it is on there.
Yeah, it is on the record, yeah.
Track 11, I think.
What about you, Adam?
I like Caught by the Wind.
Yeah.
I like this one, I really do.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as I heard this one that I thought, this is a really good song. This is going to sound great on the radio.
Yeah, it's got
I
a
like
great
this.
sound.
Yeah, it's good.
What about you? I hope you didn't take yours.
They both took the ones I was going to pick, so I'm going to pick the quieter ones on the album. There's 2 like acoustic tracks, which when I first heard them, they just like meant a lot to me, and yeah, every time I hear them now, they just take me back to those memories of, you know, like growing up in the same village as Kelly. So
Yeah, that's good. I mean, the music has that way of
Yeah.
kind of bringing you back, right? What about you, Kelly?
I've been trying to forget the album because this drove me nuts for a year. And I'm just trying to remember the song titles. There's a track on there called Would You Believe, which is kind of cool. It changes, but yeah, I mean, there's a good song called Geronimo on there, which is a bit nuts with like baritone saxophone and stuff, and that goes off on one a bit. That could be cool when we play live. Apart from the fact we have to pay somebody to come and play saxophone for one song.
All right.
But, you know, if he's a good character, we'll take him on the road. He can do other things. We'll think of those other things
Yeah.
apart from the sax.
Tambourine.
I was thinking of extracurricular outside of the band activities.
Okay, fair
Like
enough.
he could take us on.
We'll discuss that off air.
Yeah,
then.
we needed to discuss that.
okay.
We'll
Discuss that without the
off-bill.
microphones.
Well, before I let you guys go, we have some questions from the crowd here. So let's get it started.
Hello, how
Hi.
you doing?
Hello.
Good.
What is the process for picking a set list for a show?
Well, it gets... like last night, for example, playing in New York, it was about showing as many sides of the band's material as possible, really, over the course of I probably for an hour and 45, because in a small club like that, you don't really want to play forever. So a lot of it is trying to show the dynamic in the band's catalogue. And then sometimes it's about doing the big hits. If you're playing a festival, people, if you're standing in a field up to your knees in mud and it's raining, they don't really want to hear some obscure B-side from 1997. They want to hear a song that they know. So we've always been a band that wants to give people a good night out. So we try to give them what they want from the night, and we try to give something within that set list that we get enjoyment out of playing.
How did you guys get your band name?
How did we get the band name? Well, we had a different name first when we first got together, and that was Tragic Love Company, the name of the band. It's very catchy. And we had an opportunity where we was going to play basically in front of all our audience, and we thought that's the ideal time to change the band name. And Stuart, who was a drummer, he had a stereo in his house, an old turntable, and it said Falcon Stereophonic on there. So we stole the Stereophonic, put an S on the end, and yeah.
All right, we have one last question right here.
Thanks for your time,
That's
guys. You guys are awesome. My question is for each of you. You guys are excellent musicians. If there's any instrument in the world that you could have, what would it be and why?
Have or learn to play or have?
Have.
Own.
Just own. We don't need to have to play it.
Just to own it.
I have
Okay.
1956 Les Paul, which was hopefully was Jimmy Page's if he just forgot to take it home one night and just give it to me. I thought I'd get it early because I thought he might jump on that one.
He stole it off you. I would like a double bass, a full size, but yeah, it's a bit awkward to carry around. They won't allow you on planes with it, so it's a bit difficult.
I'd have Jimi Hendrix's guitar, I would. That'd be me done if I had that. What about you, Jamie?
There was a drummer called Keith Moon, and he did this.
Never heard of him.
Who?
Never heard of him. He did this TV show, and he had a see-through drum kit, and it was full of water, and it had goldfish in it. And I thought, that's mental. And I thought, if I could have anything, that would be it, with minus the goldfish.
You'd kill the goldfish. When you
They'd
hit the
be gone.
drums. You
They'd
could
be
put-
gone. But the see-through drum kit, full of water,
Put mice
craziest
in
thing
it.
I've ever seen.
Put
Christmas is coming, Jamie.
What's it called?
mice.
Perspex.
Yeah, you can stick mice or rats in it.
Oh yeah, we got all that in
You
there.
could kill something. Like
Whatever you think. You know? So that's what I'd have. Weird, but
Rent to kill.
Love it. Thanks for that question. Thanks for all your questions. Thank you guys for coming by today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stereophonics, their new album's out this fall. Let's give it up one more time for the band.